And we're live. Hello and thanks for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Luc Tran. I'm joined by co-host Harrison Ngo.
What up?
And our other co-host, Ian Eatwell.
Hey.
Podcast is, we just talk about what's going on in the nerd world, ranging from movies, comics, anime, video games. If you're a new listener, we start out by talking about what the three of us been up to lately, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, and then we'll talk briefly about any cool news we've heard before diving into our main topic, which this week's topic is going to be about, are there too many video games being released nowadays? Or are there too many good video games being released nowadays? So we'll save that for later, but let's start with our little pre-show. Harrison, what have you been playing recently?
I've actually, because I'm essentially the Destiny guy right now, so there's a new season, so they just every week they try to reset some new things. So recently they actually just dropped a new weapon. There's like more story that got dropped recently. So me and the guys have just been playing on that, just trying to get the new stuff. And then actually speaking of, like, I know it's the end of, I think by actually end of September, they're going to be removing a lot of the year one content. But now, so they're letting everyone continue to play year one, like raids, but like instead of having the weekly stuff be weekly, like you only get like the good stuff each week, you can actually just keep rerunning it until the end of September, and you'll just keep getting the new stuff. They're trying to let everyone get any of the drops that they want. They've updated the armor to the new system, so we just been grinding on that. And another thing, you sit watching, and I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and it's not gaming at all, it's just really funny. So I watched a Kind of Funny podcast, and just really quick, I'm just curious for you guys. When you hear someone say, "What do you want, a burger?" What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like, when you hear burger, what kind of burger are you thinking of getting?
Fast food.
Let me prep.
McDonald's.
Let me make it a little bit easier. Do you expect cheese or not on the burger?
Yes, to me, a burger just constitutes a cheeseburger because I always tend to get cheeseburgers.
Yeah. All right. You, Ian? What about you?
The mental image I see is just like a classic commercialized one. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't.
I mean, do you expect a cheeseburger or just a hamburger?
Oh, yeah. What?
That
was the weirdest answer. Like
I guess I don't like my mental picture.
Burger,
it doesn't have cheese on it, so I guess no.
Oh, so you don't? Okay, yeah. So you imagine a hamburger, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So no, they're like actually contending about this for like an hour, and I'm like, wait, what is? It was just the weirdest shit to hear. I was like, yeah, no, a burger to me has cheese, but they're like arguing, no, a burger is a hamburger, and you had to ask for cheese. I'm like, what? I mean, I get some places say, like, do you want cheese on that? I'm like, well, yeah, duh. But I guess some people don't, and I get it. But I was just curious.
Oh, so is the argument then?
Like the question was,
does a burger have to have cheese?
Not even.
The argument is burger. Just the word.
Just the word burger.
Does it mean hamburger or does it mean cheeseburger?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not both?
I mean, you can't have both.
You can't have both.
You cannot have a cheeseburger, or you can't have a hamburger that's a cheeseburger, because then it's a cheeseburger.
And then when you ask for a hamburger, I assume that there's no cheese, but you're saying hamburger, and you have to specify, yes, I want cheese on that. But they're arguing the natural state of a burger is a hamburger. I'm like, false.
Yeah, I think most fast food places, their plain hamburger already comes with cheese on it, and you actually have to ask not to have cheese. Am I wrong about that?
There are some places that ask, but I never thought about it until like today.
I mean, I think if you think of like the Big Mac standard comes with cheese. So you ask, can I get a Big Mac, no cheese?
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So I was trying to think of other places, but honestly, most times I always just get a cheeseburger. So what do I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to like Five Guys, they have the option like, oh, I want a hamburger, or I want a double patty hamburger, or I want a cheeseburger, or a double patty cheeseburger. Like, there is a difference.
But yeah, but it says
they
hamburger.
They don't have like a signature burger.
Right. But it says hamburger. And in a moment it's like, oh, I want a cheeseburger. But I guess
No, they have both.
yeah, they have both options, right?
All right, yeah, I'm looking at their menu. They do have like there's only one option is just
Just the
hamburger that has no cheese.
Oh, okay.
But every other like the McDouble comes with cheese. There's cheeseburger, double cheeseburger, Big Mac comes with cheese, quarter pounder.
Yeah.
All the quarter pounders come with cheese apparently. So I guess you have to ask no cheese on the quarter pounder.
Yeah,
Weird.
that was just something that really bothered me today. I was like, fuck, this is a good thing to talk about just for like 2 minutes. And I was just curious because I was like legitimately curious because I'm like they were actually making good points, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if you have to if they're like if someone says you want a burger, I would technically say yeah, and just assume cheese. But some people were making the argument, yeah, no, if I say hamburger, I'm like, yeah, you just said hamburger, so that's not a burger. Anyway,
here's the thing: who doesn't like cheese except for the very sad souls that are lactose intolerant?
I mean, if you're dieting,
and even then, those people probably like cheese; they just can't have.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a stupid topic, but I was just riled up for like an hour because I'm like, this should not be an issue. Cheese.
Cheeseburger should have cheese.
Anyway, got that off my chest.
I'm someone who enjoys probably as much stuff as you can fit in between those two buns, baby.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Oh, then that makes me.
No, and then
I don't want to get into this whole stupid burger thing you started talking about. So, do you have a preference, Ian, on these, like, I feel like it's a new trend with these, like, kind of hipstery bars or, like, hipster burger places where the burger is actually too big to actually eat. Do you like that, or do you like when the burger is actually, like, a real burger? And it's manageable and you can eat it.
Wait, what's a real burger? I'm actually curious.
If your burger patty is more than 6 inches tall, that's not a burger. That's not a patty. That's just a brick of meat that you've chosen to cook.
You know, I've always wondered. I wonder if that's just a Texas thing, because I was watching some other people make different types of burgers in other areas, and it's like they're like.
See, I don't think so, because there was a video. We are so off topic. Gordon Ramsay did a video of him making his preferred style of burger, and his patties were like really big.
That's
meaty.
Yeah, they were kind of the Instagram photo burger where giant patty, the toppings are way too high.
This is gonna be a "that's what she said" moment, but I do want to be able to fit it in my mouth.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's preferable.
That caveat.
Anyway, so kind of funny. You should watch it. It's fucking hilarious.
Anyway, Ian, what have you been playing?
Yo, So I finished Hellblade. I finished Hollow Knight.
Oh, you finished both?
Yeah. That was last week. This week? I think
You didn't finish it last week, did you?
I don't think since we recorded, but I did finish it last week. I think I finished it Friday or Saturday. Oh, wow! I guess maybe it hasn't been that long.
It's been that.
Or that technically that's last week. Friday or Saturday is last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finished both of those. Both of those are great. I didn't realize how much different like they have DLC for Hollow Knight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's also like different endings. I knew there were different endings, but I didn't realize like how much more gameplay is involved if you go for those. It's pretty cool. Hellblade was amazing. You should definitely go play that.
Are you more excited for Silksong and the second Hellblade now? Or like I know it seemed like, especially with Hellblade, you were really enjoying it. Are you more excited for the second Hellblade? And I guess maybe because we haven't talked about Hollow Knight as much, I don't know if you would want to get Silksong.
I definitely am more excited for Hellblade 2, and I definitely want to see what they what they do with that. Because one of the things is there's like Hellblade extras. It has spoilers on it, so they're like, you should beat the game first before you watch it. But they do like an in-depth on how their whole like process and how they went about making the game and how they had these people who had experienced psychosis before or are currently dealing with it, how they had like input from them and they actually took them along on like the journey of creating the game, and I think that's what made it so successful. Or one of the things was that it's such a personal thing for a lot of those people. So yeah, I'm like, if that's how they're going into Hellblade 2, I'm there already. Silksong, I'm definitely interested in that character a lot because she has some really interesting backstory that you get to like.
Oh, does it delve into it more as you play?
I do. Yes, yeah. The further you get into Hollow Knight, the more you find out about her.
Okay.
She's like the second boss maybe that you fight.
Right.
Second or third, I don't know.
I think second or third. I remember it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And then she's like, you like talk to her throughout your journey and stuff, and it's so I'd be really interested. I would also be interested because of if they keep her playstyle
The same.
similar to what the like NPC could do, that'd be super dope.
From the looks of the trailers, that's what it looks like. Like it looks. A lot of her movements look similar, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Sick. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think I'm. If you want to like evaluate my interest, I think I'm a little bit more interested in Hellblade 2, but I mean, I would still be there for Silksong. I don't know when that comes out. Do you know?
They haven't put in a release date as far as I know.
Okay.
Wait,
Gotcha,
Hellblade
gotcha.
2?
Sorry,
no,
Silksong.
Oh, Silksong.
Silksong.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, they only announced it last year, so
Yeah.
Right.
it'll probably be maybe like 2022 or 2023. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Dude, they're pretty great though. The team that makes Hollow Knight has like they've done updates to their game. They're super friendly to speedrunners. Like, so I'm ready to get Silksong too, just for that. That's about all I played. Other than that, I'm excited for something that I'm gonna be playing tomorrow, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in our cool news stuff.
Okay.
So I'll save it for that. What about you, Luke? What have you been playing?
What have you been
I have. The last time we talked, I don't remember how many hours I said I have in Hades.
It was way less than what you have now.
I have 50 hours on Hades now.
Oh my god!
Which it's kind of funny because I think I'm on my 52nd escape attempt. So I have I have 51 runs in the game, and it's still really fun.
Wow.
It's
The runs take you about an hour then. Give or take.
No. It's like, so
You said you have 52 hours if you're on.
yeah, but there's a lot of like
extra
when you
stuff.
come back to the
Yes,
like the keep.
Yeah,
I guess
keep.
your it's basically your house.
Right,
There's
like
a lot
hub.
of stuff. Yeah, you run around and do a lot of stuff there.
Oh, okay.
So it's like half my time because I think my slowest run was 42 minutes. My fastest run was 26. So runs don't take an hour.
Damn, I didn't realize there was a hub in that game.
There's a hub.
Yeah, it's a
really
pretty
cool.
big hub, and you get to customize it. So that's really nice.
I was gonna say, like, I was looking at your hours. I'm like, oh, I probably put like a good, and I checked my hours. I'm like, oh, I have 4 hours.
Yeah, never mind.
All right.
Yeah, one of my friends who bought it last year, he messaged me today saying like, "Oh, I've had this game for way longer than you. You still have more hours than me."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's a fun game. I'm also unemployed, so got nothing better to do.
But it's so
But-
fun, right?
Like I'm at the point now where I'm unlocking the secret weapons.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
that's where a lot of my time is spent. But no,
Nice.
it's still a great game. I'm gonna still be playing because I've escaped a good amount of times, but there's still way more side character, side quest stuff I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on that. I haven't played yet, but Monster Hunter Iceborne has their new monster drop tomorrow.
Yeah, baby.
So that's what I'm going to be playing for a while. Probably like this, all of this weekend will probably be spent
Probably
hunting
that.
Elytra, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, same.
But God, Hades is just so time consuming. It's so bad because I'll play and then the next thing I know, 5 hours have passed. Like, oh, I should have eaten lunch already.
Jesus.
Guess I'll eat dinner now.
Yeah. But it's nice because one thing I do like about Hades that other roguelikes I really enjoy, like Slay the Spire.
Mhm.
Hades tends to give you a little bit more control, at least to me it feels like,
Mhm.
on how to manipulate your run.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because like with the keepsakes you can have, they can slightly influence how you start out each run
Mhm.
because you can guarantee a specific god that shows up.
Yeah.
And then you get these reroll items, so each door you go to, you can reroll to a certain amount. I think
oh, cool.
the max you can have is 3 rerolls, but you can also, every time you get a key, you get 1 reroll back, but you can change what the next room is. So if you're really fishing for like, oh, I need a hammer upgrade, or I need to see Zeus specifically, you can keep rolling. Whereas other roguelikes do tend to just kind of throw you in and let you randomly go through stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's nice because it feels like
cool.
the more you play, you do get rewarded because of like how many runs you do. Because, like you said, you get like what was it called? Like not artifacts,
The keepsakes.
keepsakes. Yeah, I think those help because like we were talking about last time, but my keepsake was mostly for Dionysus because
Yeah.
just because I like that playstyle. But I'm sure if I get some other ones, I'll probably change that because I haven't played as much as you, so probably should fix that.
Yeah, and just it is a really nice sense of progression because using the mirror, like the mirror is the mechanic of how you basically permanently increase your power
Right.
between runs. And I realized maybe like last Friday that you could switch which part of the mirror you're using because I couldn't figure out like how are you supposed to get to the other side, and I found out it's really stupid. And it does actually change a lot of your play style depending on if you're using like the standard mirror set, I guess, or its alternate version. Because I think with the maybe it's like 12 to 15 power ups or perks you get, each one has a opposite, and it does change a lot. And I'm having a lot of fun actually, like changing a lot of things about how I'm starting my runs. Because there's some things where like, oh, you reduce a bunch of your health, but if you reduce a bunch of your health, then it's easier to maintain certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my theory crafting build mode, so Hades has been really fun with that.
That's actually really dope to hear because I need to play that more.
I still want.
I mean, it's
I think it's
on sale.
still on sale until tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think it's $20.
$20. Yep, not that bad. That's for that game. I think that's a solid price.
I think it's
to be
completely
honest.
worth
It's completely worth it.
it. But Supergiant is also like all of their games, even
Oh, yeah.
Pyre. Like, I didn't play a lot of Pyre, but I still like can respect it for what they're trying to do. But all of Supergiant's games have been phenomenal for me. So
Mhm.
Agreed. Yeah.
Solid games.
You mentioned something about how you wanted to wait for the next section, Ian. For like cool news. What was
Mhm.
that thing you wanted to talk about?
Oh, it was. I mean, you already said it. It was the Monster Hunter.
Oh, Monster Hunter. Okay.
Yeah.
Spoiled.
No, it's yeah. Like that's coming out, and I missed all the jewel drops that they were doing, but I don't really care. I'm
I
excited.
mean, really,
for
you can
later
still
on.
get the attack gem.
Oh, you can still get it.
I think the attack gem is tonight after 7 p.m.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But it's funny because I remember we talked one of our other friends is a huge fan of Monster Hunter. We talked like, yeah, I'll probably be playing soon. And then I've only been playing Hades. He's only been playing Destiny. But we were like joking today, like, you ready for tomorrow? He's like, I've been waiting all week for tomorrow.
Man, I'm so excited for
So what was
throughout Monster Hunter, in the game there's like different systems for like damage and stuff. And I have always loved the like element like stacking things that you can do. They have like poison, they have like water damage, fire damage, and stuff like that. And I have always wanted to get something to get that to work like well. And I've done like I've made builds that like work around those things, and it's really fun. But to actually have like a monster that kind of like makes you use those
rewards
things.
You, yeah,
and rewards you, for using those things specifically is super cool. And the armor that you get from that Elytron, the monster, makes I forgot what it does. It's the like your resistance adds damage to those elements. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. I love it. It's great.
I'm really just because I really love because Elytron was originally in Monster Hunter 3 and he was really cool. I'm super excited. My girlfriend is also like tertiarily excited because she doesn't play Monster Hunter. But the longsword is a giant scythe, and so
like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, collecting all the new weapons because Elytron usually has. It sucks because of the armor. I'm not a huge fan of aesthetically.
Agreed.
But they've shown a few of the weapons and they look amazing. And so
I need to look at those weapons. I haven't seen them.
Yeah, because like with the last update, they had Raging Brachydios, who I wasn't a huge fan of the weapons or the armor that much. But at least with Elytron, I really like the weapons.
Dude, I would have loved the armor for Brachydios if they didn't have this giant spike in the chest.
Just giant.
That's the only thing I'm
just
like.
Just a crab claw on your chest.
Yeah. But yeah, oh yeah, these are sick. Oh, these are cool. Oh my god. Here's the thing though, some of them I can't even tell the difference between.
Like what the weapon
this
is.
The scythe. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Oh, do they have like forms? Yeah. Unless this isn't a real thing. They like open up and show like purple goo inside, purple energies.
I think it's like with most weapons in Monster Hunter, where if you're doing specific moves or you're doing a specific action, they will probably change in some way.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick.
Or like with longsword, probably like as you pick up more charges, the blade starts opening up.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I don't have a weapon like that yet. Dude, I'm in.
Yeah, he comes out tomorrow. I think the Monster Hunter people are all pretty excited.
Oh, yeah.
Harrison, what about you? You hear any good news?
So, I know Xbox announced like their event. Oh, did we mention that? I don't think we mentioned that last week, did we? No.
We mentioned we were just kind of waiting for it.
No, but yeah, okay, yeah. This past Monday, they announced that they're gonna have like their actual, like I guess their showcase. I think it was on July 23rd. It looks like.
Yeah.
So, and it should be including Halo Infinite. So that's freaking hype. So I know I'm just gonna wait for that just to see.
Sorry, really sorry. Hold on.
You should be fucking sorry.
The freaking musical instrument for Elytron is a goddamn shredded guitar. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just like Zenogre.
Alright, I didn't know about that. I'm sorry, Harrison. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't feel like talking
dude.
now because I know that you're not listening to me. I don't feel appreciated.
Alright, it's fine. I'll talk for you. So in Xbox, they were doing. I don't know.
Oh yeah, go. I haven't heard. What's going on, Ian?
They're closing shop. They are not releasing Halo 2. It all shut down.
Halo Infinite is canceled.
Yeah. Goodbye.
All right, that's not true. Ian does not speak for SuperBoss Podcast. It is Ian Eatwell's words now.
In SuperBoss Podcast does not reflect the values or condone whatever. But sorry, go ahead.
But there's that, and then I know this weekend Ubisoft's doing their event, and it's funny because so many things are like coming out of like just leaking right now. I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla had like 2 leaks recently. And I mean, I watched it. I'm like, all right, this is what I expected. Nothing crazy. Not like it's. I think it's just
nothing like blew you away.
I think it's just me, and where it's like it's cool to see. Was it like Norse related? And it's like, it's cool to see the setting. And I think if anything, I watched it and I was like, wow, this looks way more like Witcher than what I expected. But I mean, to me, I'm cool with it. I'm like, all right. More stuff like that, it's fine with me. I like Witcher, so can't really complain too much. Cool. And then I think they dropped something about Watch Dogs, like the new, I forgot what it's called. There's
Legion.
Yeah, there's a leak about it too. Which I mean, I was kind of waiting on that because it was such an interesting like concept when it first dropped. Did you guys watch that last time? Do you guys remember anything about Legion?
I know. Their whole shtick about Legion is there is no main character.
Yeah.
And you're basically playing a legion of anonymous characters that...
Mm-hmm. And it's like...
move the story forward. Didn't I see like somebody was an old lady or something?
Yeah, one point.
Shit out of somebody. Yeah.
I think in their debut.
Yeah, that was like in that main big trailer. So, I mean, that's pretty hype for new things. I think most likely we'll probably talk about it next week. Because there's going to be more stuff. We'll see on how much they reveal. Because if it's like EA, well, then there's not too much. But I know that's the 2 things I'm looking forward to. 2 cool things. So.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
It's funny. It's the complete opposite for me with Valhalla. The more I watch Valhalla, the more... It just seems to me... It just looks like a different setting, but a little more polished Assassin's Creed Odyssey with, like you said, like a little bit of maybe some Witcher 3 style gameplay thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those games I just couldn't get into.
So it was funny because I was talking to Ian about this. I'm like, before Luke was interested, I'm like, I watched those the gameplay stuff. I'm like, yeah, he's not gonna be interested like at all. Like, yeah, like I was like, he already doesn't like Witcher, so there's no. And I was like, I was already surprised you were trying to get into Odyssey, where I'm like, if you didn't like Witcher or that style, you probably won't like these games. And knowing Ubisoft, they make incremental changes, so
yeah,
I'm not like what I saw. I was like, it's expected. I'm not super surprised, but I mean, I like that.
Like, I'm probably still gonna hold out until we get some official and probably more recent gameplay, trailers. But because obviously these were leaks, but just in terms of gameplay, it doesn't really seem that interesting to me. And maybe part of the reason I just can't get into Odyssey is I hate just running around. It's like a compulsion because I'm a completionist to like do all these things, and
like on the way you just see like a map. You're like,
oh, there's a checkpoint. You got to go check the checkpoint, and then like I realize 2 hours later I'm 3 islands away from where I'm supposed to be because I just got sidetracked. But I think they've also said Valhalla is supposed to be even bigger than Odyssey. So
yeah, from what I remember,
that's another just I
like
hate
map wise.
Yeah, like just in terms of like game scale, it's supposed to be bigger than Odyssey, which I think is really impressive. But I hate this kind of, I guess, trend in AAA gaming where open world games just compete to see who gets the biggest game, and it drives me insane.
I mean, I guess the other thing is more like technology is just getting better about it. So it's like, oh, we want it in their eyes. It's like, oh, we're trying to add more content, or
and I don't necessarily mind. Like obviously, like with better technology, we get bigger and better games. But Ubisoft specifically,
like their model,
their design tends to not be very interesting after a certain point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think that's why it's like I'm at the point where I'm like I play Odyssey. I'm like, oh, this is fun, like for a few hours. But also I'm in school right now, so it doesn't really. Like school and work kind of take time away, so I'm not
right.
I would like I think once I'm done in a month, so once that happens, my girlfriend is like, I'm like, all right, Because funny story, I'm actually gonna get a new CPU, and with that right now, they're giving
no.
Valhalla for free. So I'm like,
Oh,
all right,
sick.
cool. I'll just have it. And she's like, that means you have to finish Odyssey now, right? I'm like, yes, that's a thing. I should do that.
Doesn't mean that.
I do.
They're
No,
not
so the thing is,
do whatever you want.
the
man.
thing is,
Yeah.
I talk about how I like playing it, so I should and I want to. So it's not, that's the main
Oh.
thing. I do want to.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like, yeah, that should be a thing, because she's made a point. She's like, you play a lot of Destiny. I'm like, yeah, but it's only because all the guys are playing, so I'm like, I might as well play. And it's just a fun game to play with each other, so why not? But
Feel you?
so most likely I'll have that if I end up getting the CPU. So, but yeah, so those two showcases are cool. But I thought it was funny because I was like, I watched it. I'm like, I don't think Luke's gonna like it. I think that was like the main thing. Going back to
Cool?
that.
Question mark.
I mean, they're leaks, so you can't. I take it with a
Right.
grain of salt. So
Right.
Yeah, like they definitely seem like they're still
the 30
nowhere
minute,
close to being finished.
the 30-minute
Mhm.
one did look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were somewhere even in the clip where like work in progress. So
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not gonna bash the studio for like the thing we're working on in the middle of our development cycle got leaked. What are people gonna think?
Yeah.
But it seems very reminiscent of games I'm not a fan of.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So
Makes sense.
Ian, we're boring you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
Uh,
Come on,
I guess-
step it up.
Bring the content.
Outside of video games, it's
Ooh.
like official marketing, but they are having like the boys marketing is
I was
getting,
about to bring that up. I forgot.
it's starting to amp up,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty excited for. I really enjoyed the boys.
Did you guys see the new trailer today? That's
Yeah, it was
that's
good.
Yes, I did. Yep.
so good.
No, I have not watched the trailer.
Oh, you lied.
I never said I did.
Oh, I thought you did. I heard 2 I dids.
No, I didn't.
I think that was me just repeating myself.
Oh, that got me.
we are becoming one.
We're just the gestalt.
But it's pretty
But-
dope. I was like, this is
Yeah, September is gonna be a crazy year for crazy.
crazy.
It's probably gonna. It feels like a year.
It feels
September's
like
gonna be a crazy month for a lot of different reasons.
Oh,
I feel like.
yeah, right. Because oh my god, didn't the boys end on?
The
He
biggest,
like brought
like, a
him
good-
back. Yeah, it was the giant cliffhanger. Holy
Okay,
shit.
I was like, wait, hold up.
yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but Jesus,
Well,
yeah, you should catch
You
up. on
sounded
that
like
if
you were
haven't
about
seen
to.
it.
I was like, wait.
Yeah.
but-
catch up on that if you haven't. The Boys
Yeah.
is a good show.
If you haven't watched it, hella good watch. I think it's only on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah, it's an
Yes.
Amazon original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worth it. So good.
Mm-mm-mm.
Trying to think if there's any other trailers, but I think our other friend, he was talking about Umbrella Academy, and I need to get on that too.
Yeah, season 2 trailer came
Yeah.
out. I think
Oh.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I've been
think-
interested in that.
it's on Netflix.
Which yeah, that's a Netflix original.
Yeah. But other than that, I can't think of any other shows.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I can only pay attention to so many things, and I think that's fair for everybody. But
yeah,
Yeah.
we all really liked the boys.
that's such a good one. Yeah,
Good stuff. I don't know. Hamilton's on Disney now, so watch
that's
that
true.
too.
Yeah, I did not know that. I kept seeing people talk about it. I'm like, what? I mean, yeah, I remember. I keep hearing
Why,
good things.
why is this such a thing
but
again?
what's happening? And it it's like, dude, it's on Disney Plus. Makes way more sense.
Dude, I was so I'm one of those people with, if I hear about something from like literally everyone in the gray mile, I'll be like, all right, I'm just gonna step away, and I'm gonna watch this when I feel like watching this.
No, I can understand that.
I
Feeling.
mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Though.
and so that happened to me with Hamilton, and I watched it over the weekend, and it is very good.
I mean,
I think like that's the thing where I don't want to sound too hipster, too negative, but like Hamilton is a really good musical, and I think it's a really good musical partly because it is a very kind of grounded, very, I guess, relatable. I mean, it's American history basically. Just obviously it's romanticized in some ways.
Sure.
Whereas a lot of other high quality musicals tend to get, I guess they're just kind of funkier where they probably don't appeal as much to mainstream audiences as much.
Yeah, but I think that's like the fun of it. Like I remember,
Yeah, I don't want to
looking into
bash
it.
Hamilton because it is really good, but
It was one of
it's-
those
I'm-
things where
I made this joke to Ian. I think it was Ian,
Uh-huh.
but it's basically Hamilton was the Sword Art Online of musicals, where it's a lot of people's gateway into actually getting into musicals.
Oh, okay, I get you. Man. I
And
was
like,
like,
yeah,
wait,
Sword
what?
Art wasn't that good, but it leads a lot of people to find better anime. Same with Hamilton. Inversely, is a really good musical, but I think hopefully lets people discover more of the,
Mm.
I guess, core musicals. Not core, but like just more musicals that aren't as mainstream appealy. I don't know how to phrase that in a
Yeah.
way. I don't know how to phrase that in a way that makes it sound elitist, but
No, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where the even having that mentality going into it, where it's like, all right, I've heard so much about this thing, like even going into that it didn't it didn't ruin it for me at all. Like it's still just very good, and I can get all like play critique on you, but it's very good, very well like done, very well thought out. And there's like a lot of stuff coming out now about like he's done. I don't know if these are old, but I've seen like interviews where he talks about like how long it took him to write this song and what he was thinking about when he was doing it and stuff like that. So it's very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I need to still watch it. Actually, I've heard all about it, and I just haven't had time. And I think, well, of course, for the longest time, didn't have access and didn't really go at them because I know a lot of people put on track. They're like, oh, just listen to the tracks at least. I'm like, but I kind of want to watch it too, so to at least get the full, get the whole experience. I think that's important.
Yeah, you should definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Sarah about it, and I was like, "It's on Disney Plus. Might watch it later." So
yeah, don't rob yourself of that. Visual is very good.
Yeah,
dude, the scenic design.
Yeah,
just everything is so cohesive. It's very good job in that aspect.
hell yeah, definitely need to watch.
Sorry, I'm trying to hold off on it.
Hold off on what? Wait, what?
Oh, just like
gushing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I mean, if it's that good, why not, right? But
yeah, I mean, you are the most qualified, I think, to talk about a theatrical piece. So like the the spotlight's on you. Ha ha ha. But yeah, like go ahead, like just break it down.
All right, well, all right. So one thing is the scenic design. It's all like you got, it's all like wood. It's made very like, oh, this is like old timey like 1700s kind of thing. But the main, the coolest part, and I might be wrong about this. It might only be a one piece thing, but it looked like it was two. So in the center stage, you have, it's basically all wood flooring. You have a wooden, and then cut out is like a ring and then a circle on the inside. But it all looks like it's a plain floor, right?
Right.
And so throughout the movements, so it all looks like it's one cohesive floor, but the ring and then the circle inside the ring move independently, so they can like rotate like a conveyor belt, basically, or like a lazy Susan, and so when they just use it so well, they use it for like changing like your view on like what's happening. Like they'll freeze frame, they'll do like a tableau freeze frame of like a scene, and you'll get to like, while other things are happening, you'll get to see like different perspectives on it. They use it for like, I think they use it for like a rewind time kind of thing, which happens, which is pretty crazy. It's very cool. And they use it like if they want like a lot of stuff to happen on stage, but they want to keep like them like they want to keep it like these people are walking in a direction. They'll have them like walking on the conveyor belt, but they'll be staying in place while these other things are happening around them. So it makes it a lot of it's very cool. It's a really cool piece that's like low key that I haven't like seen a whole lot of use of. Oh man, let's see. In his interview, he just talks about or I don't know, it wasn't really an interview. It was just a video I saw on Facebook, but he just talks about like when writing his songs, he draws a lot from a lot of the like great rappers throughout. He talks about like Jay-Z, Eminem, talks about Biggie. It's like he kind of like takes a it's the one song where he's like N.O.T.O., the like Notorious song.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he takes that and kind of puts like a shout out to that part of the song in one of his songs. Oh man, and the casting was like perfect. Like oh my god, the casting for this is great. Some people that stand out are the King. He's just hilarious. Me and my girlfriend were dying watching this guy. And then I don't actually know how to say his name. I think it's just David Diggs, but it might be like Davey Diggs. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
He's done a lot of like voice work on stuff. He's like Bob's Burgers.
Oh, you mentioned this. I remember you talking about this.
Yeah,
and I still don't.
He's done movies too. I can't see a pronunciation. Whatever. He was in it. He played Thomas Jefferson and Lafayette, and he was hilarious in both the roles. He's supposed to be like, well, Lafayette's a Frenchman, and then Thomas Jefferson came from France, so he's supposed to have that like I'm French kind of foppish. He's kind of that character, the fop. And yeah, both of them are like great.
Sidebar, yeah, his name is. They say the name is a Hebrew pronunciation of David, so that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
So they spell it with 2 E's. Okay, all right.
Oh, but so it is pronounced.
Dude, I can't find a pronunciation.
Same. All right.
Anyway.
Oh man, there's so much to talk about. It's really just good. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was so the whole play is kind of like Alexander Hamilton, and it's mostly about him, but then also like the whole the culmination, the ending of his life happens with the duel with Aaron Burr.
Right.
And so the way that they tell the story is Aaron Burr is his foil, and that relationship there is so well done. I think it's just such a cool man. They have so many different like two sides of the same coin kind of thing.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm trying also not to like spoil a lot.
Yeah, I can tell.
It'll be like Alexander Hamilton's like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if anything, I could probably watch it like probably in a couple weeks, and we can gush about it.
Yeah, sure.
It makes more sense.
Yeah. It's like that whole the writing for them and how they each pan out was super cool. I also, something that I started like singing the song after I finished. One of the things is like, no, I can't say that because then that is kind of a spoiler. All right, never mind. I won't say it. Never mind. Oh man, it's something I'll come back and I'll tell you, or I'll just tell you off air.
Yeah.
I'll after you watch it, I'll say like I caught this. Yeah. Good musical. Go watch it.
Go watch it if you haven't. Like me.
Yeah.
Wait.
Wait.
No, I was like, did Luke watch it?
Hamilton?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
I've actually never seen it.
Okay. I was good. So,
I do think Luke is right. It is like,
Well, it's also like I also want to say, like a lot of the really good musicals that I can think of
Mhm.
aren't really in this generation. I think,
yeah.
Hamilton, I think, is kind of a breakthrough, partly because it came, at least to me, I'm not super familiar with the musical world, but I feel like it just kind of came out in a time where musicals weren't really being released, or they weren't being very successful. Because obviously, like, you go back, you've got Les Miserables, you have West Side Story,
Hairspray,
Rent,
yep,
or even like, I mean, it's kind of a joke because of the movie, but like Cats was huge,
mm-hmm.
but all of those are older.
Yeah,
you don't really hear, and I know they had like some musicals come out. I mean, you have like High School Musical,
right? But nothing has been like pervasive into mainstream as much as Hamilton. Compared to like
at least
things that have
recently.
released recently. Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely one of those just because it's like, oh, it's an American musical, so it's like American history. Everybody at least was taught that in school, so they at least have some already like base knowledge to go off of.
You would hope.
Sure. And it's like as like, let's take Cats. It's like, oh, these like cat people.
They're just cats.
They're cats, and so some people I can understand some people being like, that's a little weird. I don't want to go watch cat people, and so like this is like, oh, it's history and people, and
it's just people.
I'm familiar with this.
People things.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and take a little break. When we come back, we'll be going back to our main topic, which will be talking about, are there too many good games being released nowadays? So go and get up, get some water, stretch up. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Yeah, go get that burger.
All right. Hope everybody had a good break. This is a portion of the show where we go into our main topic, which, to reiterate, we're going to be talking about, are there too many good games being released nowadays? I'm just going to start off by saying I kind of think so. Just getting that out of the way. Not that I think there are too many. It kind of is, I think there are too many good games. But I think it's the nature of the game industry where a lot of games are going for, like we mentioned earlier, kind of open world games or games as a service, where they kind of are trapping players into like, keep playing my game, keep playing, and then either you get rewarded or you get punished for not playing the game every day.
The whole like games as a service kind of thing, like Destiny, or
like games as a service specifically is very much like you need to be playing this every day.
Right.
Yeah. And with open world games, they're just so big that it takes
so much time to finish.
I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of our other friends who played open world games. They generally, I don't think, are as hardcore of gamers as us. But using like Red Dead 2 Redemption for an example, I feel like just on average that game takes a lot longer to finish than like previous generations of games.
Yeah, sure. I would agree with that.
I mean, it's not unheard of for some games. Like, I mean, I think they said Last of Us 2 was, 25 hours? I think? And that's only, like, you're just going through the story probably on the easiest difficulty or on an easy difficulty. Whereas, I mean, a lot of games tend to, you see, 30, 40, even 50. And obviously it's like, internet trolls a lot of the time, but when studios announce, oh, this is going to be like a 10 to 15 hour game, people get kind of upset. Like, oh, I want to play this game for a lot longer than that. Or like, 30 hours is the new standard for video games. And so with open world games, you just see people playing this one game for so long that they miss a lot of other games.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm coming from. I just want to hear what you guys have to think.
I definitely find myself having a hard time catching up. Or it feels like I haven't played everything, I guess, which is a statement. But it feels like I have to choose what I play, and I'm playing what is it? I'm playing Final Fantasy 15 like years after it was released, right? I played Hollow Knight way after it was released, so I am having trouble like keeping up with current things to an extent. So I do think a copious amount of actual good games are being released. I don't know that and it is kind of like, oh man, I guess like, oh man, I haven't played that thing, or like there's so much to do and I only have a certain amount of time. But I guess it also leads to people having their own like unique experiences. Like people start to have this like, like back when we were kids, right? It was like everybody played Legend of Zelda, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, Legend of Zelda. Or not everybody, but like if you were a kid and you knew someone who was a gamer, if you knew which console they had, you knew what games they played, right? Kind of.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, I was gonna say that makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but nowadays it's kind of like there's like Destiny players, there's World of Warcraft players, there's like all these MMOs have their own like communities, and then you have like the indie scene where a lot of people who are in the indie scene have probably played like a lot of the really popular indie games, and then you have people who are like more AAA gamers who probably have dipped into one that's gotten like super popular or something, right? I guess I don't know. It kind of, for me, it sucks. It's like, oh man, I don't get to play all these amazing things, but at the same time, it's like everybody has their own experience, so I'm not like, yes, I'm missing out, but I'm also not, in a way, if that makes sense.
I want to touch up on that real quick, then I'll let Harrison go, because I know I'm kind of stepping over toes, but Ian would, I don't really care. I'll kiss your feet later.
Okay.
Sorry. Going back on that experience thing, I know, like, yeah, you do get your own unique experience, but I feel like part of these, especially with these AAA games, is being able to talk with everybody everybody else who's playing it, and I feel like with all these games coming out, you kind of lose that. Like for just going off like the biggest titles I can think of for the rest of the year, we've got Ghost of Tsushima, we have Cyberpunk 2077, we have Halo Infinite, I'm assuming, and I know we'll have Spider-Man Miles Morales, I think. And just with those 4 games, like, I don't think it's like between the 3 of us, are we all gonna get all 4? Probably not. Like, there's some games I know Harrison will get that I won't get. There's some games I know Ian just won't be able to play. And part of that, I think, is, like, it sucks. Because that shared experience of playing a game and, like, oh, when I did this happened. Like, especially with Cyberpunk, where it's supposed to be this, like, really big, really in-depth RPG. Like, if not everybody plays it, then when you have this super cool, super janky build, and no one understands what you're talking about, it's just like, I mean, maybe you don't care, but for a lot of people, I think it's fun to talk with our friends. Like, oh, when I was playing this happened.
That's a fair point. Yeah, you lose out on that like shared experience of
Yeah.
both having played the game, or I remember Harrison mentioning this a while back on some other episode or something where he was like, I love going to school and being like, oh, you did this thing this way, I did it this way, and you get that with those kind of different kind of build type games.
Because like even within the three of us, like Harrison's the only one who still plays Destiny, and so like we'll probably still understand a lot of what Harrison talks about when it's the new season and stuff. We're just gonna be drooling on ourselves because we don't know about the new season.
Sure.
And I think that's a detriment to all these, like, yeah, they're all great games, but it's not feasible for everybody to be able to play every single one.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Harrison?
So there's a lot of things I wanted to touch on earlier, so that's why I didn't want to lose my thought.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's why I tried to jump in fast. So I mean, I think what it is like, so going back to Ian's points, I want to touch each one because it kind of adds up. So back then, I think what it is games were like, when games were made, there were like always games were kind of like in the back end. They weren't treated like real, like good entertainment. It was always like that quick thing, like, oh, it was like an arcade game, or like, or it's like, oh, now it's a home console. So like the gems that were thought of like good games back then were like the amount was a lot smaller compared to now, right?
Yeah.
So like, you can name like a good amount, like let's say like on N64, you could probably name like the top 3 games. Like you could say like N6, like Mario 64, everyone would know that.
Right.
Ocarina of Time, everyone know that. Or even going back to like NES and like all that, like each Mario's good. You can name all of these because I don't think there were that many people that made good games. There were probably a lot of games that were made, but it was like those things that were like the equivalent of like really small indie time, like indie games. Not in even the, we'll probably touch this later, but like it felt like there are other games back then that were probably not as high quality, so no one really looked at it. Like you probably went to like a Best Buy or a game store, you've seen those games, but because no one really talked about it, you probably just brushed it off. Because as a kid, you don't have enough money, you probably get the thing that everyone thought was good.
Right.
So I think now, yes, there are way too many games, and I think that's just because the industry is it's just way bigger now. And it's kind of a double-edged sword where it's great because now we actually have a lot of games to choose from. But I think that's also the flip side of there's too many things to choose. Like now you have to choose, right? It's like, oh, there's like 3 games. Like for instance, Ghost of Tsushima, and I think the Paper Mario game's gonna drop. I think that's the same day, or even like let's say Doom and Animal Crossing dropped. That's the easier one that I remember, and everyone was like, oh, it's like, oh no, 2 games are gonna drop. Which one am I gonna choose? I mean, at the end of the day, you say that, but I think it's just nice to know like how like people can now have the choice of like, oh, there's actually a game that I'd be interested to play. Like back then it was, oh, hardcore gamers only like certain games, but now there's so many different types of games. So I think it's a bad thing for us specifically because we like to play a good amount. But I think for like the general like populace, it's probably not terrible. They probably hear like, oh, this is a good, like for the average person, they'll be like, oh, Cyberpunk I hear that's a popular game. Let me look into it. Or like everyone knows about Call of Duty because that's just the big first person shooter that everyone kind of just gravitates towards. Like,
right.
Or like Battle Royales, sure, there's like a new Ubisoft one, but I mean, there's still going to be everyone that plays Fortnite. Like, we still have a friend in our group that plays Fortnite. Yeah. And it fucking amazes me. I mean, that's good on him. If he likes it, that's cool. I'll give it. But I think that's just, I guess that's cool too, because technically, if there was a game that, like, for instance, like you guys play League, I don't feel like playing League. I have other shit I can play, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing in that everyone can still play certain games, but I think for us specifically, and I mean the hardcore people too that follow all these games, there's way too much.
Yeah.
And
too much
like and they're all good. And they're all good. That's the other thing. It's just they're good.
Yeah. See, it's kind of like the thing where these companies they're still like turning a profit. Even though all these games are being made, they're still like banking on them, right? To an extent. And I mean, like, yeah, like some don't perform as well as others, but there is apparently a large enough audience to support all of them. All these games that are being made. So as long as the market's there, as long as the demand's there, they're gonna keep shelling out stuff for people.
Yeah. And there's another point, but I can't remember enough. But it probably wasn't that big a deal. But what about you, Luke? What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I think there are too many games. And
Mhm.
like going off of what you said, Harrison, I think it is good just overall that we are seeing like a huge amount of new games being released, and they all tend to be a really high quality product.
Mhm.
Trying to gather all my thoughts.
No worries.
I think I'm gonna agree with you. Like for people who like gaming is their primary hobby, I think it's hitting a point though where there are just too many games, and we kind of all kind of dance around the subject, but even within even within certain groups of people, now it's like not just I only play certain kinds of games. It's I only play indie games or I only play AAA games, and I think there's like more division in just like the gaming population as a whole, and I think that's fine, but I think it's just you're getting to a point where things are drowning out each other, and like we have trouble keeping up with a lot of games.
Yeah,
because between like I even just mentioned, Cyberpunk, Ghosts, Spider-Man, Halo. I mean, you'll have Horizon at some point. They didn't announce an official date, but Horizon and all those games PlayStation announced for their PS5 reveal. There's just as many indie games that are coming out that I don't think people are giving like a fair amount of attention to, just because it's kind of obviously AAA games get all the hype, but like one of the games I'm looking forward to, it's because my girlfriend's looking forward to, is Haven, which is an indie game, and I never would have heard of it unless like she would have mentioned it to me, because indie games don't get a lot of marketing. It's mainly word of mouth, or if you go to PAX or SGDQ, or they do have like an indie event for PlayStation and Xbox.
Right.
You don't get to see a lot of the AA games, and it sucks because they make good games, but they don't get to see the same amount of profit. And so, like, besides some very standout indie companies or double A companies, they never kind of break out. Like using Greedfall as an example, I think the studio is Spiders. They're the ones who did Greedfall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it was a AA game. It was pretty buggy, and the graphics weren't good by comparison to AAA. But I think overall, Greedfall was like it was a good game. Like, I'd probably give it maybe like a 7.5. And they just announced their new game. I think it was Steel Revolution. I can't remember. Like, just yesterday.
Oh.
And like I'm looking forward to it, and my girlfriend's looking forward to it, but because it doesn't have the same hype as a AAA game, I feel like it's just going to be kind of slid under the radar.
Yeah. And I think,
and like,
I was going to say,
sorry,
they did have a good amount of marketing though. I remember like in the months prior they did.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the issue is too, is like now we actually understand what we're expecting out of a game, and now people are more people are playing more games, and now they know what they like. So now you can like look at like a trailer or see gameplay or previews, and you can be like, oh, that's kind of the game for me, or it's not. And I think that's just the issue. And I think the issue is just now the industry is just more built up to where I think it's nice, it's awesome that we see all, like, if anything, just going back to one other thing, is we hear more about these games too, because I think the internet, we're just in that age where we hear about everything now, versus I think before we had like only E3, what was that TV channel, G4?
G4,
yeah,
like
G4.
way back when.
Yeah, like all that stuff, like that's the only way you could find out, or you just had to go to like GameStop or Blockbuster even, and just be like, oh, what am I going to rent today? So I think that's just,
right.
I think now, if anything, my 2 cents on the indie thing is like it sucks that they don't get enough, but at least I think the plus side is it's moving more towards you see more indie games. Like for instance, even the PlayStation Showcase, they had some. I think they had some that just looked like it was an indie game. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's actually in the showcase now. I think it's just gonna take. I think it's just gonna take time personally, for it. For I don't want to just segment indies either because I want it to be like, oh, it's an indie game, but eventually it could just become like just a game, right? But anyway, that's just I don't know where I'm going with that.
No, I kind of agree. In a sense, because let's say, maybe like 5 years ago, you don't you. All right. Let me restructure this. Now you have Xbox and Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch all support and have their own like indie section in their like marketplaces. So I think now that more indie games have been made, and now enough have gotten enough attention where the big companies are like, oh, hey, this is actually a place where we can, make money and stuff. And so they're like, oh, we'll like work with these smaller independent creators and stuff.
Yeah.
And it adds it. I think the opposite of do they get enough attention and enough? I think they deserve a lot more, but they, I think, now have more acknowledgement, I guess. They have more, they're seen more than they were like 5-7 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, and also the other thing is like the tools are available, and I think they deserve more attention. I think the other thing is it's just hard to filter through. I think that's the other thing is what is considered good at that point, right? Because everyone's like expecting, like, for instance, like was Hollow Knight considered indie?
Yeah, it is.
So it's like for that, like there's always like those like big names that all of a sudden become big breaks, right? And you're like, oh, that's my expectation of what an indie is, which it should not be for some people. Like, but that's because they keep hearing about those certain games. They just have that mentality. So I think the difference is like what helps for me at least is that you guys actually pay attention to more that space more, because I just kind of look at AAA because I try not to buy too much because I know my weakness is having a backlog, and I've seen some other indie games. I'm like, oh, this looks so cool, but I mean they are smaller experiences. Most of the time they're shorter, so that's not really a good excuse either. But
yeah, I think one aspect of it is indie games, for the majority, are done by one or just smaller teams. So there's not a budget. if
that's the other.
There's not a budget at all for a lot of them.
Funding is bad. Yeah.
So in terms of like the marketing and all that stuff, the only thing they have is like a GoFundMe or spread word of mouth through the
like
internet,
Kickstarter,
and stuff
or like
that. Yeah.
Any of those crowdsourcing programs.
And so a lot of people probably are like, they would only see like a big AAA game because the marketing that is all like pushed in their face and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure for a lot of indie developers they try to push, because now I think now the big thing is now that PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, for instance, have like their indie showcases. A lot of people try to push for that. And I know, like, kind of funny, just because I listen to them, they try to do their own showcase as well. Try to pull in a lot of smaller developers and just showcase, because they understand that there's not that much exposure, or indie developers don't get as much options for exposure. So I think now there's just more awareness about it, and I think that's a plus. And I think it's just going to take some time for it to get to where they want, or this is like that middle area where it sucks, because what if this is just that middle area where like new game developers just have to like figure out the market and try to like there's not like there's not one place to be like, oh, if you're gonna do indie games, go to this place. They're gonna like push you like to the top type of thing, you know? It's like you kind of have to feel out the market, which kind of sucks. But I think that just goes for like a lot of businesses too, in general.
Okay.
I think we veered off that so hard, but because I'm like looking at the doc and I'm like,
It's a lot of different, like completely different talking points.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I did want to mention we have here is that I think for the most part, and I think we're all kind of, this has all happened to all of us at a certain point, but there's just a lot of players will only play one game at a time.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads to a backlog because, like, I mean, I've been playing basically a bunch of Hades, and then Harrison, you're still playing a lot of Destiny, even though we do have like pretty big backlogs.
Even though we have other games we could be playing.
Yeah, and it's just it's gonna turn into a feedback loop because we want to play the newest games. Like when Ghost comes out, I want to play Ghost,
play that so bad. Yeah,
I should have been playing these 3 other games beforehand. And man, I don't know how to phrase this. I mean, yeah, it's like there's just not enough time for us specifically. I mean, we have real life obligations to take care of. Like we got work and we have relationships to keep up. But
we're no longer high schoolers that can just play like a shit ton of games.
We can't just play for 16 hours a day and just breeze through a AAA game.
Which was actually, like, speaking of hilariously, like, I remember back then, like, my dad would buy us a game, and all of a sudden, me and my brother would finish it. He's like, "You guys already finished? What?" And now I'm like, "Oh, it's taking me forever to just beat a certain game." But I think, like, going back to the original thing, was like, I think games have also just changed, like, that much. I think we talked about it in other podcasts, but essentially, like, games have just transformed to this point. So
yeah, like, I mean, I think part of it is a lot of games are games as a service, and that's the one game players are playing is my one game as a service game that I play for 3-4 hours a day, and then I have to go do other things, and I don't get to like sit down and play a different game. I guess.
I mean, there's one other argument I've read online too, and I mean, I've seen a lot of people say like, this was back then also. It's always like, oh, I finished the game, I want to play more of this, I want to play more, and then they sequelize it. They would just become sequels, and then people are like, oh, I had to keep buying like $60 games, and it's always the same experience, or it's like the same amount of time, but it's like a little bit different. Like, it's not street. It's like that Call of Duty, even Halo for a bit. I think like the newer ones they feel more sequelized, but I think it's just the product of like how much we just kind of push it to that point, to now where we're at a point where games are considered an art form now. So that's why I think AAA is trying to push for like these high fidelity games, and they're like, they have to be experiences. We want the gamer to like experience and have fun with the game, but like there's like the mix of that. Like for instance, God of War, it's like a one shot take game. It's a game, but it feels like a movie sometimes, right? So
yeah.
And I think that's just the other thing. We just keep pushing the boundary of like, these are good games, and we just keep pushing that boundary of like, we just want it. The quality just keeps going up because we keep trying to top what we make last year, for instance.
Yeah, I think the AAA games are definitely those companies are definitely focused on the technology side of it and making sure that their graphic, like, it looks sexier and it looks cooler,
gotta
and more immersive, and
the
all
new
that
technology.
stuff.
Yeah, like everything has ray tracing now because that's the new buzzword.
Right.
Jesus.
Whereas I think a lot of indie games rely more on is the core mechanic of our game fun, or at least the ones that are successful, like their core gameplay is the most important.
Yeah, like they're just more concerned with, is the game good?
Yeah.
It's like there's a documentary from do you guys know No Clip on YouTube?
Oh, they're so good. They're a good watch.
They basically do crowdfunded documentaries, but they have one on Hades, and I've been watching that on Hades.
That's a good series.
And they talk about, because I think what sets Supergiant apart as a game studio is they have 4 highly successful games, and none of them are related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all like
Because they,
different
yeah,
things.
they're completely different in terms of tone, aesthetics. You could even argue gameplay. Some play similar, but it's not a huge, like it's not as blatant.
I would say the most
as-
like similar thing would just be their art style.
I was gonna say their art style is like
probably
it's like a
the only
super
thing. Yeah.
super giant art style.
Yeah.
The gameplay is like different.
But they've made that like iconic too, and at least for me.
But yeah, like they talk about even like between game development, they just want to make unique games that are good. They're not concerned with using super high quality graphics or, they don't have giant orchestras for their soundtracks. They have one guy who does all the music, really.
Mhm.
And they just have like their shtick, and their shtick is like unique art style with really good music and cool story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And their games are pretty short.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something I remember seeing, I don't know, maybe this was from NoClip, I'm not sure, but I remember seeing a video where they were talking about it was their team, and they were just saying how we keep our team size pretty small because we like and they've developed that like repertoire, and like working as a team, they have that like so down pat, so they don't taint that, I guess, in a way.
The last I heard, they only have 17 people
Yeah.
in their studio.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it was like 17. Last time I watched the documentary.
But I think it works pretty well for them too, because then when you have a small team like that, you can have a very focused direction, as opposed to the more people you add, the more unfocused your
like
strike can
they have,
be.
I think, one narrative/design director, whereas in AAA, that's an entire department.
Right.
Is narrative, and
Right.
same with like music or art or coding. You have departments dedicated for that. Versus, Supergiant is a really small studio, so they have very tight focus, and they can just send out whatever they need to, and that's taken care of.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that's related.
Yeah,
I've lost track of what we're talking about.
We kind of just went on the Supergiant tangent because we all like them.
I like Supergiant, but
but to bring it back to, well, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what you were trying to like transition to.
I can't even remember.
I mean, because you were saying like how shit.
I think we're all just like bamboozled.
No, it was just like we were talking about Supergiant. Essentially, I think you were trying to say like how. Are you trying to say like how with indies they have on a smaller scale they could still be good? Is that what you're trying to get back to?
No, I think what I was trying to say was usually you see. I think what I was trying to say was like indies tend to be more unique experiences, and they're
typically
they're smaller, and so like you kind of play them in like a 5 to 10 hour spurt,
right?
Maybe 15 on the bigger end,
yeah.
And that's kind of it. And they don't generally go for sequels. And so you're always kind of playing new experiences.
Yeah.
Whereas in AAA, obviously I play the new Call of Duty, and I keep playing the new Call of Duty till the next Call of Duty comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get to play other games. Like, I feel like a lot of people, and this is going back to the point where most players tend to stick to their core game, is with the really big games that are out right now, they just play that until the next big one comes out.
Yeah.
Like I know, like one of our friends, he played Red Dead Redemption 2, and I mean, I think besides playing League of Legends, he's probably just not going to play anything until maybe Cyberpunk comes. And it's like there's so many games I think he would enjoy that he just for some reason just won't play.
I mean, and I think that's just another thing is I try not to do that in that sense. Like I try not to be like, oh, this guy could play these kind of games, because from my experience, for instance, every time I go to work, every time I talk to some of the guys that do game, they always bring up like the same types of games, and it just seems like, for instance, a lot of people like there's can't talk.
Sounds like you're dying. Jesus.
I mean, I'm hungry also. Holy shit. But all right. So essentially, like, there's, from what I've seen, the trends are always with the general. I don't want to say general either, but a lot of times people either just play Call of Duty, Battlefield, like like they have a shooter game, and then there's a sports game. Like even like I back then liked to play FIFA for a while, but I just hated how like every year you just have to keep buying a new one, and it's pretty much almost the same thing. Or they add like a new feature, but most time people have those kind of games, and then they'll like listen in for like what's the big game too. And I think other than that, they'll just go back to like Call of Duty because that's a replayable game, right? And I think that's just what it is. And sometimes, and I think the issue is when it's the trailer, for instance, like they'll watch a trailer of the game, they're like, that's cool, but I like graphics. I won't play this because it's old looking. I'm just saying, like, that's a thing. That's a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
So, or it's, oh, that looks like it's a pixelated game. Isn't it like, I think that's the issue, is we're so used to seeing newer games they just keep pushing the bar, where it's like when someone sees an indie, they don't respect it as well, honestly. And it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I could definitely see it's not on people's radar as much. Which it sucks. It is a shame, because there are some. It could just also be the people who are playing the sports games and the like Call of Duty
Battle
is
PS
like
boys.
that's the that's just the style of game that they enjoy, as opposed to someone. I'll juxtapose that, like, with myself. I enjoy like really story rich, kind of one-off type games. Almost as if the game is like a book or a movie or something, and it's something that you could go back and watch. You know what's gonna happen, but like if it's something you really enjoy, you can go back for the nostalgia. But in terms of replayability, it might not always have that too much.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a competitive match. That's not to say I don't enjoy competitive games, but like as opposed to somebody who's like just wants the competitive nature of games, they might stick to those. And if you're going into the competitive realm, the big thing is like established studios who can make the scene kind of big. You know, like Overwatch or League of Legends or something like that, or Call of Duty or CS:GO.
Yeah, and I think it's just another cool thing to see, like how how Luc was talking about how like with Supergiant they have such a small team, but they have like one person for each thing, and I think that's just cool to hear. It's like, oh, someone's like doing most of the music, that's why I always get worried when like someone gets big. It's like, oh, they want to make their game better. Like for instance, they want to get better music. Oh, they're probably gonna have to get some more people on that, or like. They want to change art direction. Well, they can't just have one person doing it. But I mean, that's the nice part. And Supergiants, I think, is a very special case, and I don't think that applies to the rest of the industry as it should. So, because I feel like every other place, they always have crunch. They always have like big teams, but I think that's just on a scale of like, well, how big's the game, right? Like, for instance, like if you're doing like a remaster for like THQ Nordic when they're doing Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. I want to drop that. I totally forgot that was another cool thing that dropped.
Oh,
last
right.
week.
Yeah, we were talking about
Yeah,
that earlier.
I was like, there's so much more things that drops, and I just don't remember it all of a sudden.
Mhm.
But there, no, and not just that. It's like, speaking of that, there's also a lot of re-releases of games. Like
Yeah.
THQ Nordic, it's just like, hey, we're just gonna get these old IPs and probably just make a remaster of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we go. Like SpongeBob, boom. People,
Yeah.
there's a following for that. I was like, oh shit, all right.
There's SpongeBob. There was Crash Bandicoot. There was there's a lot.
So I think it's like, actually thinking of that, I think the issue is also like now people keep wanting new stuff, but they also are like, no, there's so many good games, but it doesn't match the game that I like. It doesn't match when I like it. Like for instance, Halo, the new stuff is like with the story, and then the old stuff was like way better. Give me that. And then 343 is like, hey, I'm gonna make it. Here you go. Here's Halo 3 next week. Well, cool.
Mhm.
And it's just all these I think it's just there's also re-releases, quote unquote, or remastered.
Yeah.
I think that also muddles things. It's just, oh, cool, let's check out this game, even though it's technically just a remaster. But I like it because it's my childhood.
It's got that nostalgia factor. Yeah. I get you.
I think it's just like there's just we're just gonna go back to there's just too many games.
Yeah.
But I think there's just more there are more types of games that are just more accessible to me, which is good. I like it. Give me a game.
Yeah, it is. I think we do agree there are way too many games being made, but I think the accessibility for a lot of those is becoming more and more open, which is great. So even though it's, that's a good problem to have, right? Like having too much of a good thing, as opposed to like there is a single game called Pong. You can only play Pong. Pong is your game.
Pong 2, we've changed colors.
Yeah.
Man. And I guess that's the other thing too, is like, it's cool to see all these indies rise up, but it's also crazy to think like how back then there's other AAA companies that were like really good back then, but now they're like, because they had to keep just pumping out games, right? I think that's just the other. I think as consumers, we kind of put ourselves into that corner. Of course, if you don't do that, cool. But I feel like majority of people, like you hear, like for instance, like Last of Us 2, it's got so much backlash, yet more people keep buying, right? That's just, is that because it's such a good game, or is that just because everyone's like, oh, I played the first one, I'm just gonna buy the second one? Oh, it's bad, but they still bought it.
Oh, I see. Like even though they heard it was bad, or
like they probably heard it was bad, but like for instance, I was another good listen for anyone that just wants to just has time and loves Halo. Mario O'Donnell did like an interview, and he was talking about how he wants to play Last of Us 2, and then the interviewer was like, he like chuckled because he's like, of course, knowing Last of Us 2. And then Mario's like, oh, wait, have you played that game? Like, he was like, oh, he was like genuinely excited, like as if he does, because he probably doesn't pay too much attention. So he's like, oh, there's like, he has people that he listens to. He's like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good game. So he wants to give it a shot. So, and I think that also just rounds it out to like exposure. Like if you're actually looking for these games, you probably won't know. Like how we're like talking about how our one friend could play all these games, but because there's so many, where do you look to, right? To find these games.
Well, but there are also people who do think The Last of Us 2 is a good game, as we've seen with
definitely.
the whole like review debacle thing that happened.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, if you like it, cool. If you had fun with it, cool. If you feel like you didn't waste your money, good.
Yeah,
I think that's the other thing. It's just, and I think now that there's too many games, that's the other thing is because that game is bad, doesn't mean there's not any other good game you could just buy, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean that's a whole nother thing.
But yeah, I think what Ian was saying was, I think we can all agree that there are probably, in our case, too many games being released. But I think overall it is, like you mentioned, too much of a bad thing, I guess. Like, it's not a terrible problem to have too many options. It's probably more just affecting people who, like I said, gaming is their primary hobby, And so they actually have to pick and choose which game to play because more than likely they'll sink in 40, 50 hours in one game.
Yeah.
And it's like 40, 50 hours of the game, but it'll take like maybe a couple weeks or like weekends or so.
It's spaced out over
over
a few weeks to a month or a few.
Yeah.
And it does kind of, I do agree, it does kind of suck if I don't get to like have an experience to be able to talk with you guys about that. You are like losing something there, which is kind of unfortunate.
It's funny because with Ghost of Tsushima being one of the new big game releases, I'm actually not going to get that game until I get a PS5. So I will be waiting for a while.
Oh, is that going to get ported?
I'm assuming so.
Okay, I haven't heard anything about that.
I really hope it does because I don't want to play Ghosts on the PS4 because the PS4 just is way too loud.
I don't want it to go vroom vroom the entire time.
Yeah. I actually want to hear the game and not my system.
Yeah.
I feel like they should. I mean, it's coming out late enough.
It comes out. It's the end of the month, isn't it?
It's end of the month, I think, or if not, it's like early August or so. No, it's end of the month. I think it's end.
I think July 28th.
Yeah, something like that.
That's about 5 or 6 months away from the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect it to be being able to be brought over.
I don't think so, and that's because I don't think Sony's made it's only made I can't talk. I think it's only made statements on certain games that will be ported to next. I have no idea. I probably need to look into it because if it is going to get ported, then I'm going to wait too.
Yeah.
Because I want to get that on PS5 also then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get PS5. So at least we'll all have PS5.
We can talk about that.
Amazing. It's crazy because we all have like nice PCs, but we all don't play the same games really. It's like the few games that we have, it's like, oh, like Luke and I have one, or like we all did play Monster Hunter at some point, but I fell off, and
we thought Destiny. Yeah.
Oh, look, that's a issue for us maybe, but that's also just nice that like, oh, we have options to play. Like, oh, I don't feel left out. Like I have a game I could be playing.
Mm-hmm.
Too many good games.
Yeah. But I think that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. You can check us out on all of our social media. You can go Facebook/SuperBoss Podcast. Twitter, I think, is the same thing, SuperBoss Podcast. You can also email us at superbossfeedback@gmail.com. We're in the process of getting a website, so stay tuned for that. Just keep up on Twitter or Facebook. That's where we make most of our announcements for now. You can also check out Ian. He streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I believe.
Yes, sir.
In the evenings. Just a variety stream. It's really fun to just hang out with Ian. You can hear more of him because he's probably the more interesting of all three of us because Harrison works all the time and I play one game. So,
I mean, I too also played one game.
No, I'm kidding. But check out twitch.tv/RealShake for some streaming fun. I think that's all we've got. Am I missing anything?
One correction, isn't Twitter SuperBoss Pod? Or is
it's SuperBoss Pod.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just checked.
Okay.
Yes.
SuperBoss Pod on Twitter.
Yeah.
Thank you again for listening, everybody. We are signing off.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Peace.
Later. Bye-bye.